Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at Bitcoin. We'll look at XRP and we're going to make a handful of other videos shortly after this, but we'll just focus on those two because a lot of people want to know about it, really. Interesting stuff. So basically, first of all, we can't ignore the fact that Bitcoin is continuing with its rally, and in all fairness, there's no reason why it shouldn't. We're above all major moving averages. They're all still diverging away from each other. MACD is looking great, and slow and steady essentially wins the race. It reminds me of the way the Ethereum moved last year, well, maybe about a year and a half ago, basically before the crash anyway. Basically slow and steady, not overstretching, not overreaching, basically not giving us any opportunity to consider there to be a dump. There will be pullbacks, but so long as we're above these, everything's good to go. And like I say, they are diverging away from each other. There's nothing to suggest anything otherwise. We can only assume that at some point it's going to run out of steam, but we did have bearish divergence, but that I would probably say is not really relevant anymore on the daily, as the formation's kind of broken. So we did have bearish divergence, and you could argue that played out into a sideways sort of reaccumulation to redistribution area, and then onwards and upwards from there. So Bitcoin looks okay to me. Now, when we look at some of these other indicators, this isn't particularly an indicator of any significance, but it lets you know where the money's at, roughly speaking, for the retail sectors. And there's a lot to be said for retail sector, all right? So I know we talk about institutional money, we talk about a few things, but retailers is where a lot of the money actually is, especially these days. So these are the top main three, and at the moment we're still 70% long, which is good for Bitcoin, but it's kind of steady away. This is an area at 70% long where things can get really interesting or things can start to tail off, but it's neither here nor there. It's not particularly interesting, but it's not showing any form of weakness, definitely not. The Dixie is helping everything move, so all commodities, cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin, and then currency pairs against the dollar are having a great time. Even the pound, where we're about to enter the Brexit situation in the next few days. You would expect that the pound will be plummeting, but it's not. It's actually just it's stronger than it's been for a long time against the dollar, and the reason for it is because the dollar is extremely weak. So that's helping Bitcoin too. And we'll look at Bitcoin dominance, and we're still bumping our head on this resistance zone, which is good, because what we're looking for really is an alt season, and we will be coming into January from tomorrow. And my anticipation for maybe about a month now has been that we are going to find ourselves into an alt season in January, about mid to late January, and so the way that this is sort of looking at the moment on the daily definitely says that it's bullish. Everything's bullish on it, but I do anticipate that we will sort of, I suppose, come down from here. Maybe if we're lucky, it will gain momentum and break down beneath these zones. Those zones will cause an enormous rally for alts, but for the moment, every indicator on here is pretty bullish. Let's go to the weekly and see. We had our cross here, which is bullish. These are going parallel at the moment, so I would say that if this started to come down, it would allow for this negative cross to take place on the weekly. That should give us maybe a month or so of alt season, but for the moment, not quite yet. Not quite ready for that yet. We might be at the very verge of an alt season, but there's no signal to say that the alt season is ready yet. So let's have a look at XRP. So this is XRP on the 30-minute chart. Why would I do that to myself? Why would I do it on the daily? Because just to see how much of a dire situation this is. Now, fundamentally, right, nothing really has changed for XRP. What I'd like to try and put into context is that this whole dump, massive crash, whatever you want to call it, is only because of American side of things. The rest of the world is still technically unchanged, so we've got to, I suppose, digest that for a moment, right? America is a very large part of the entire world, financially, economically, but it's not the be all and end all. So to see all this money get drained out of it as a result of an American lawsuit is pretty interesting, and it's also, I wouldn't call it irrelevant, but I think it might be technically oversold. You know, this blue box zone is our new support zone. We had a support zone down here and it was broken. We had a support line here which was broken, and now we're trying to hold this level here. So we did have a nice bounce, and now we're trying to hold ourselves above it. Not saying that we can't come back down again, we certainly can. I know that Binance US just said yesterday that they're going to halt trading for XRP in the next few weeks, and it didn't really have too much of a negative reaction to that. It did a little bit, but not really. So you know, when we're talking about reaccumulation zones, we could be looking at one now, and this zone that we're in at this very moment in time coincides to the original accumulation zone that we had after the consolidation ended. So consolidation ended here, and then reaccumulation took place within this zone, all the way from this top bit now where we are physically at right this second, all the way down to this bottom zone here, which is basically the bottom of this wick. So we're back to the original reaccumulation zone from the summertime. So I'm not particularly concerned. If anything, it would be an idea to maybe start to dollar cost average into it, or trickle a little bit of profit into it perhaps at these zones, because these zones have proven, or has proven, to be the reaccumulation zone that most of us never thought we'd see again, and now we're seeing them again. Obviously it takes a few balls to buy it back, but I actually think that this might be the opportunity to buy it back in during this blue box zone. So I am going to put my money where my mouth is, and I am going to start putting money into XRP down at these low levels. Now, do I think that we're going to rocket from here? No. Things aren't going to be rocketing for XRP anytime soon, which gives us time, like I say, to dollar cost average into it. We don't have to go crazy and buy at this level, as we can imagine we would come back down here again. So like I say, if we look at the way that this reaccumulation zone happened here, we broke out of the consolidation, we meandered down and thereabouts, and only when we started to reclaim some of these moving averages, which for us at the moment are all the way up here, showed us that we were ready to make some kind of move. At the moment, those moving averages are so far above us that we will not be getting above them anytime soon, not unless there's some massive change in the entire situation. So personally, I don't think it's too much of an issue to throw a little bit of profit into these zones, or dollar cost average into these zones. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, so this isn't financial advice, but I think historically, recently, this could be considered a relatively safe place to be buying for the long term, alright? Just for the long term. Anyway, that's pretty much all I've got for you on XRP at the moment. Don't really see too much of a problem with it at this level. Now, if this level did break down, 10 cent would be the next area. If we broke down beneath 17.5 cent, 10 cent would be on the cards. 12 to 10 cent. Don't think that that's completely unlikely at all. I think that it's reasonable to assume that that's where we would go. So clearly that would be a 50% loss of anything that would be put in here. So if you were to think about buying into XRP in here, be prepared that you could lose 50%, but also at the same time, trust in the chart, and regardless of what's happened here, we have gone down an enormous amount already. From this top wick all the way down to that bottom wick is a 77% retracement in just a few weeks. We can go down more, but also the chart speaks to me, and the chart says this area was the reaccumulation zone, and this area technically is the bottom, even though we do have a wick all the way down here. Anyway, I'll leave it with you there, but thank you for watching, and take it easy.